The Jets spent most of this season trading off young core players and getting assets, getting first-round picks, getting second-round picks. So they now have assets to acquire a quarterback and a coach. And what I vision for the Jets is Mike Tomlin and Joe Burrow. And I think it goes hand in hand. Because if you can get, let's say, Joe Burrow first, who has a no-trade clause, but I think the idea and the prospects of playing in New York City and just a change for Burrow, who seems unhappy with his current situation in Cincinnati, and the opportunity to come to New York, he's into the fashion, and you are a QB in the biggest city in the world. And Burrow strikes me as a guy that would be interested in that. If you can acquire Burrow, you can then pick up the phone, call the Steelers and say, what's it going to take for Mike Tomlin? And that combination will get the Jets back to the playoffs. That combination will get the Jets back to where they haven't been in 15 years. You have the picks. You did the work. Now, go get the quarterback. Go get Joe Burrow. Go get Mike Tomlin. Well, Mike Tomlin's going to take time off. He's going to go to TV. Well, convince the Steelers otherwise. Convince Mike Tomlin otherwise. If Joe Burrow is sitting here and you have these draft picks stocked and you have still some young players here that you can hang your hat on, and you have Garrett Wilson, let's re-sign Breece Hall and let's start to build the infrastructure and let's recruit Mike Tomlin into believing that the Jets are the team of the future. Because I don't see the other option here. Yeah, all right, well, we'll wait around. Maybe we'll get a quarterback next year. And maybe we'll take a lottery ticket this year. And that's all hope. And that's all selling dreams. You have a reality here. You have a coach that stepped down. Yes, the Steelers own his rights. But if you're Pittsburgh, now you'll work in tandem with Tomlin on this because he was there for so long. And they're not just going to ship him somewhere that he doesn't want to be. But if you're Pittsburgh, I would want to get something out of this. I would want to get draft picks. I'm rebuilding. Like, what's the quarterback situation with the Steelers? Did you see them play last night? Does that look like a team? I mean, that's a Mike Tomlin coach team in the sense that he dragged a roster that's not that good across the finish line to another 10-win season and a playoff appearance. They need help. They need players. So why wouldn't they want the picks? And they have something that teams covet. And that's a head coach that can walk into a franchise, build it up, get them to the playoffs year in and year out. And then Joe Burrow, show me somebody that's walking the face of the earth that walked into Kansas City and beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in a championship game. Show me a guy that won a national championship. Show me a guy that plays even better in the big moments and can go toe-to-toe with the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And when you have that and you have the lure of New York and this market and this media, which I think Joe Burrow would be interested in, and Tomlin, why wouldn't you not be interested in coaching Burrow? Like, that combination, you have the picks. Dream big. Get this done. Because I don't know how you can instill any type of confidence in your fan base that you are going to bring back Aaron Glenn. You are going to try to find a quarterback. Like, they signed Bailey Zappi this week, and I know Bailey Zappi's not the answer, but still, none of the quarterbacks in this room are inspiring, and none of the quarterbacks, unless you could somehow get Malik Willis, which I don't think is going to happen. I see him more as maybe the Steelers quarterback. But even that's an unproven starter in the sense that it's not like he's had this long career where you could bank on him walking in the door and winning a lot of football games. And the Jets, who have been rebuilding for decades, other than a short stint of Aaron Rodgers, the time is now to pounce. The time is now to take the assets that you acquired from trading Sauce, from trading Quinnen Williams, and go getting a quarterback and go getting a coach. You have two sitting out there right now. Get on the phone roll your sleeves up, and get this stuff done. Don't just sit on your hands and hope a quarterback in the draft falls to you and then hope that that quarterback is good. Because you know what? And this is what Glenn and Moogie tried to do at the end of the season during their end-of-the-year press conference. They tried to sell Jet fans on hope. Well, you know what? Jet fans have been consuming hope for their entire lives. You can't say Jet fan without long and suffering in front of it. They're tired of hope. They want production. They want a great quarterback here. They want a great head coach here. They want that combination. That's how you win in the NFL. Coach, quarterback. And the Jets, by all accounts, don't have either. But what they do have and what they do possess are picks. Lots of them. Did you get those so you can get a safety? I mean, that helps. Did you do that so you can get a linebacker? Yeah, that helps. But they mean nothing unless you have the right coach, a great one. And they mean nothing unless you have a great quarterback. These are the two things that all teams are searching for. That's why you have what? What are we up to now? 9 head coaching vacancies? And that's why there are, short stints here from these head coaches. Because every team, same thing with quarterbacks. That's why all these quarterbacks go early. You're trying to hit on the head coach. You're trying to hit on the quarterback. The Jets have the assets. Now go be aggressive. Don't let it be a pipe dream. Let it be a reality. Get Tomlin, get Burrow. You have the picks. Pick up the phone. Because option B, to me, is just, it's mid. It's Aaron Glenn, who might turn into something as a head coach. But in his first year, you got to give him an F. He looked overwhelmed. He looked like a guy that didn't know what he was doing. For a defensive-minded coach, his team didn't have one interception, which is the most mind-boggling stat in the history of the NFL. You want to give him another shot? Okay, but odds are it's not going to work out. You know it's going to work out with Tomlin. Same thing with the quarterback. Show me a quarterback that you're getting this year in the draft, next year in the draft, or as far as free agency, veteran-wise, that's any better than Joe Burrow, who, when healthy, is a top 5 quarterback, who already has accomplished more in his career than most QBs could ever fantasize about. That's what would be on my radar. Burrow, Tomlin. You have the picks. Now go do it. 888-808-1019 is the phone number to call. Let's go to Jake in Roslyn. What's up, Jake?
Hey, how are you, Tommy? Hey, a big fan here. I have a couple questions for you. Mm-hmm. So I'm huge on Mendoza for the Jets.
Not happening.
I know that since the Jets have the second pick, that's not going to happen.
Nope. The Raiders have no reason to get out of the number 1 overall pick because they need a quarterback.
But do you think that if the Jets were willing to give up both their first-round picks
no,
for the number 1 pick, you don't think the Raiders
No,
would do
I don't. You know why? Because it's sort of the devil you know versus the devil you don't. It's what you could see or what you can't see. Like Mendoza and I've been talking about this, Jake, for a while here, especially because Indiana's steamrolling through the college football playoffs and Mendoza's playing at a high level. His stock continues to rise and rise and rise. If you're the Raiders and you see this guy that's won a Heisman, that's putting up these numbers, he profiles to the next level. He has size. He can move. He could run around. Like I said, he's got some speed. He could get the ball down the field. Why would you trade that even for the picks? Because you don't know what those picks are going to turn into. The Raiders, that's why the Raiders sitting there at 1 was the absolute worst outcome for the Jets. If it was the Giants, it would have been great. If it was the Titans, it would have been great.
Yeah,
the Raiders are not moving out.
Number 1 pick.
Of course.
Right. So would you, if you're saying no to that, would you give up the pick that they got from the team in the trade for Mike Tomlin and fire Aaron Glenn?
Yes. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying here. I would get Tomlin and Burrow here. The only thing the Jets have right now, the only leg they have to stand on, and I think it's a good leg to stand on, and it gives them an opportunity, at least a chance, to get a quarterback. Now, I'm using Joe Burrow as an example because I think he's the best quarterback that you can get in a trade. The Eagles just fired their offensive coordinator. Does this mean they're sticking with Jalen Hurts? Because I said this the other day. There is no way they were going to run it back in Philly. There is no way they were going to go with Hurts, A.J. Brown, Sirianni, and the offensive coordinator. Now, they've already let go of the OC. Is somebody else next? Is Brown out the door? Is Hurts out the door? Another name I'll throw out, Justin Herbert. I always thought that was a weird fit with Jim Harbaugh. I know Harbaugh picked the Chargers because of Herbert, but Herbert's style doesn't really fit, in my opinion, the offense that Harbaugh wants to run. And I mean, Justin Herbert, okay, January, I get it. He has stunk in the playoffs. Absolutely. And that's something. So Peyton Manning, you could put him on that list too. And then he stunk until he couldn't. And a lot of guys can't get it done in the big spot until they do. Give him enough opportunities. Greatness usually gets across the finish line. Herbert's got top 10 level arm talent. And I would be, if I was a Jet fan, through the moon. If I was Moogie, I would be calling up the Chargers. I'd be calling up the Eagles. I'd be calling up the Bengals saying, look at all these things I have. I have 2 first-round picks this year. I have the second pick overall. I have 3 first-round picks next year. 2 second-round picks this year. That's a lot. You could put together a real serious offer to get not only Tomlin, but a quarterback. And I would do my best to try to convince these guys. At least try. At least tell your audience that you're trying to get better. Because sitting around and hoping that you land and you spin the wheel and you get the next great quarterback out of the draft. Now, if, like the caller brought up, if the Giants are sitting there at 1, absolutely. If I'm the Jets, I would say, yeah, let me trade up. I'll get, because then we're helping each other. The Giants get help, the Jets get help, and it makes sense. We as New Yorkers can build up New York football together and release everybody here from the depths of the ocean that we've been living in, which is football misery for over a decade. The Giants screwed that up, and now the Jets are in a situation where they can't get Mendoza. But there are quarterbacks out there that are in situations that I think are rocky. Hurts, Herbert, and Burrow. Burrow's the best of the bunch, but I can make a strong case for the other 2 as well, including Hurts, who won a Super Bowl and should have won 2. And in the one he lost, he outplayed Patrick Mahomes. He outplayed him in that game. He would have won the MVP. He was the best quarterback on the field that day. And I chalk up to what happened this year in Philadelphia to if you remember a couple years ago, something was off with Philly. Something was rotten. Something just didn't flow right. And there were talks that they were going to make major changes. There were talks that Brown and Hurts get along. Sirianni was on the hot seat. They didn't make any changes as far as those 3 guys were concerned. They obviously got Saquon, and they won the Super Bowl. And that's not even putting duct tape on it. I mean, that's just a credit to Howie Roseman and that entire infrastructure there. That, I mean, give me another team that's in turmoil like that and then comes back the next year and wins a Super Bowl. That being said, you can't do it again. Like, that would be an insane job by everybody involved in Philly because it's clearly an issue. Like, they were able to put like a duct tape, but the duct tape won the Super Bowl. You're going to put it on again and hope to win the Super Bowl? Even the Eagles, who are Howie Roseman just does a tremendous job of building that team up, and they have a great O-line and great D-line. Although even the O-line, I mean, the tush push isn't that good anymore. Yeah, gee, I wonder why, because they were cheating. they were getting a head start on the false starts, and when they started calling penalties, they didn't do as well with that. But still, I mean, they're still a good team. But if I was the Eagles, I would consider changing some things up. Let's go to Greg in Piscataway. What's up, Greg?
Loogie, what's up, brother?
All right.
Hey, I love you, Loogie, and you're not the only one saying this, but why on God's green earth would Joe Burrow pick the Jets?
It's simple. It's simple, Greg. And I'm not even trying to be funny here when I say this. 2 things we know Joe Burrow likes, right? Fashion and blondes. we have a surplus here of both of those things. So I think the idea of being the top, and I understand Joe Burrow can get a date anywhere on the planet, but when you could come to New York City and be the next Broadway Joe, which I think he could be, with the fashion, with the women he's dating, and you're still the quarterback of a New York team. Like, everybody sees the Jets the way they see them. But just imagine, Greg, if you close your eyes, if the Jets ever got great, they are a New York football team, and they would be the toast of the town because they play in New York.
Yeah, but everybody knows. So you don't think Aaron Rodgers was saying the same thing and Mark Sanchez? The Jets can't get it right. You don't think that the narrative
so then, Greg, what would
Aaron
you?
Rodgers breaking?
I know, but Greg,
What's that?
But I know, I hear you, and I'll let you finish. But what you just said there, that is, to me, then what should the Jets do? If they can't get this right, but then why would they get that right?
The only thing that they can sell to their fan base is hope. We're going to draft a new quarterback.
No, but you said they couldn't get it right. You said they couldn't get Rodgers right. They couldn't get this guy right. They wouldn't get Burrow right. Meaning, are you saying if the player came here, they would screw it up?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And listen, I'm sure that when a rookie quarterback comes in here, they're going to screw it up. But the only thing they can do is sell their fan base hope. That's it.
You know
We're going to draft a new quarterback. He's going to be our savior.
I know, but Greg, how many times does Joe Beningo, who has told you the sands of time are catching up to him, that's his words. I paraphrase it a little bit, but how many times do we have to hear Joe say, bro, maybe we got something with this quarterback? How many times? I've been working here for I don't know how many years. I go back to Geno Smith, Monday Night Football against the Falcons. I remember I worked that night and I listened to Joe and Evan the next day, and Beningo's like, bro, maybe we got something here. How many more times do you have to say it? And you said just now, they'll screw it up. Are the Jets and their fans cursed? Yes, they are. The Jets are cursed. It is Beauty and the Beast. But Joe doesn't have to be a clock his entire life. Evan doesn't have to be a candle his entire life. Someone can come along to break the spell. You need a quarterback to turn all of the butlers in your house and the owner of the house from a cushion or a couch or a candle or a clock or a teacup. I'm trying to think of all the characters in Beauty and the Beast. Wasn't one of them like a foot thing that you put your foot on? That was like a dog?
An ottoman?
An ottoman. Someone could walk around and be Belle and break the curse because you are cursed. And that rose petal continues to drop and continues to drop. And you have to lure somebody in. So what did they do in Beauty and the Beast? I mean, Beast, who was a curmudgeon, and he was cranky, and he didn't want to talk to anybody, and he hid out in the library with books. But eventually, you know, the clock, which could be Joe, and the candle, which is Evan, they said, bro, you gotta shave and put, you know, a suit on, because there's this gal here that can break the curse. I could try to do a Lumiere, whatever his name is called, accent, but my French accent would be so awful. I could just feel it, like in my bones. So I didn't even. But she could be the one to break the curse, which is the line, and that could be Joe Burrow. So don't have that mentality of that they'll screw it up. 888-808-1019 is the phone number to call. After hours, Tommy Lugauer, Positive Tommy in prime time here. Let's go to Christian in Thornwood, New York, which I've never heard of. Thornwood, New York, Christian. I got to be honest with you.
Thornwood, New York, near Pleasantville, New York.
Pleasantville. Okay.
Right next to Pleasantville. Yep. So
Gotcha.
Listen, there's no chance, TL, that I'm using any draft capital on a burnt-out Mike Tomlin.
Why?
Do we need a coach? Sure. I'm not interested in Joe Burrow, damaged goods. No thanks. We need a coach who can come in, and we're not cursed. We just have a bad owner. So we need a coach to come in who'll stand up to the owner, teach the owner how to be an owner by leading the
Mike
team.
Tomlin can't do that?
And listen, Glenn was cursed the minute they hired the coach before the GM.
Right.
You want to talk about curses? That's a curse. But we have
But why
to start
can't Mike
somewhere. You
Tomlin?
want to go get a
Why
coach,
wouldn't
go
Mike
get a
Tomlin
coach that's
profile
free.
as that coach?
Go get me Harbaugh. It doesn't cost me anything.
But you said Mike Tomlin is burnt out. Yeah, he was burnt out in Pittsburgh.
Him,
Doesn't
and
mean
then
he's
let him
burnt out
figure
as-
out Let him figure out the quarterback.
Christian, are we having a conversation or are you just talking? I'm talking, and
Oh,
you're
I'm
not.
sorry. It could be the delay in the phone. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I didn't mean to snap on you. It just was weird. Like I would say something, you would say something. It's like when I used to call like my mom on the phone, which I should do more. And she'd be having a one-way conversation, and then she goes, "Don't get on your mother. I can't hear." So I didn't mean to snap at you, my friend. That's on me. But
That's okay. I expected it.
I felt like I was saying things and you weren't responding. So maybe it was a delay, or maybe you don't care what I have to say. But why doesn't Mike Tomlin fit that profile of a guy that could walk in here and change everything?
I'm not impressed by Mike Tomlin and what he's done in Pittsburgh.
Oh, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous! And what are you impressed with? What the Jets have been? Forget the Jets. Let's talk about teams in the NFL. Look at what Mike Tomlin has done in Pittsburgh year in and year out. He wins and he gets to the playoffs. That's impressive. That's hard to do. There's a reason why guys continue to get fired after 4 or 5 years. Everybody wants to anoint Kevin Stefanski. He's got one playoff win. He had 4 losing seasons in Cleveland. Yet there's a lot of Giant fans that can't wait to hire him. You're not impressed with what Mike Tomlin did. With basically no quarterback since Roethlisberger left, and then the 1 year here with Rodgers, and he's in the playoffs every single year. But you're not impressed with him.